I'm the Reddit man, your dealer of Reddit stories. Shall we start? Rangers, forest workers, hunters, and other woods people of Reddit, what is your scary experience in the woods that you still can't explain? We always built a tiki house in our woods, just some normal kids, and had loads of fun. But every week, when we came back, it was destroyed, and we were sad as hell, and always built a new one. One day we saw a guy in a black hoodie taking our sticks apart. We never came back. Backwoods hiking / camping trip up in Maine. Trail intersected overgrown logging road. Checked topo map. Saw logging toad lead to isolated pond. Hiked a pond. Found small clearing. Perfect spot to camp. Went to bed shortly after sunset, 8:30 p.m. ish. Woke up around 1:30 a.m. to distant but loud noises coming from all angles around us. Up the logging road both directions, across the pond, and in the woods. Deep bass Y groans and hoots, occasionally hitting higher pitched noted. Been in the woods for most of my adult life. Have come in contact with just about all the larger mammals of the Northeast, and have never heard those noises before. Haven't heard them again either. Will never forget that sound. I've shared this story before. We have a camp that we visit during the hunting months, and about every other weekend in between that. To get to our camp, you have to turn off of a major road onto a gravel road, drive about a mile, then turn onto another gravel road for about a half mile. It's set between a few other camps, plus some residents that live out there. It's quiet, for the most part. There are some coyotes and bobcats. Bobcats are the worst due to their terrible scream. It sounds like a woman crying for help. There has also been a black panther and wild dogs. 2013 we were at the camp for Thanksgiving. We hunted, fished, cooked, drank, all that good camp stuff. On night, we are sitting around a fire, swapping funny stories and just listening to the silence of the woods. As we are talking, we all hear, "Help me." At first, we thought it was a bobcat. We listened some more and heard it again. It was a man's voice yelling "help me" repeatedly. Now, our first instinct was to grab our guns. Second was to go towards the voice, but you never know what you will encounter in the woods. It was dark and cold. The hunters knew the area very well. We called the police and explained everything to the responding officers. The weird part was that we never once heard it while the officers were with us. Not once. The officers left, and we heard the man again, repeating "help me." About half an hour later, the officers came back, and we didn't hear any call for help. Again, silence. We all decided it was best to go inside our camp for the night. We never did find out anything. I've only been back to the camp once since then. Really freaked me out. I was driving from Tucson to Denver in the middle of the night. Got tired, was pulling off, and crawled in a sleeping bag in the desert far away from the two-lane blacktop I was on. Highway 666 BTW. It's since been renamed, because everybody was stealing the signs. Anyway, pull off the road, onto a dirt road, and then a little further. Kind of hid the truck behind some vegetation and tossed down a sleeping bar and pad in the middle of pitch black Houston, New Mexico night. No one around, no light, nothing at all. Visibility 4 miles. I'm completely ducking alone in pitch black nothing, and getting wound down in my eyes are getting droopy. Then I hear it. It sounds goofy to say, but it's the same Indian music you'd hear in old black and white westerns. Native music, voices and a drum. I literally think I'm dreaming, and when it starts I'm ducking petrified, because that noise just appearing out of nothing simply put ice in my veins. Relax a little and unfreeze, and try to be logical about what I'm hearing, which has no physical manifestation of its origin. So, thinking logically, now instead of pure panic, I could be on the reservation at this point. Perhaps it's coming from behind a previously unseen hill. I get up, look around. I don't see anything at all. It kind of comes and goes in volume. Doesn't seem to be coming from a direction. I have no clue. I looked for evidence and didn't find any. Crawled back in the bag because I'd been driving for hours and they sang all night. Logic tells me it had to be a group of people I didn't see, but I looked and there were no ancillary noises like talking or stopping or anything. Just that Indian drum and the hi-ya hi-ya. What was originally terrifying became calming. and I ended up sleeping fantastically. Later learned that was a terrible stretch of road for very bad things to happen. It sort of lived up to its 666 Monica 4x and bad shit occurring apparently. Not my story, but my dad's. When my dad was in his 20s, he was staying with my mom at a small cabin in the woods of Colorado. It was fairly remote. There was another cabin about a mile away, and a campground maybe 3 miles down the valley. Late one afternoon, he was out fishing on a nearby river by himself. As the lights started fading, he decided to call it a day and head back to the cabin for dinner. As he was walking back through the woods, he got an eerie feeling that he was being watched, but he couldn't see anyone or anything. He kept walking back, and then suddenly he heard a stick break behind him. He stopped, looking back for the source of the sound, but still didn't see anything. He nervously kept walking back, a little quicker, and then heard another stick break, whirls around and still nothing. This happens like 3 or 4 times, but every time he stopped to listen and look, there was total silence and nothing else moving. By the time he finally made it back to the cabin, it was nearly dark. He never did find out what was following him, but whatever it was left him alone after that. His best guess was a mountain lion stalking him or something. Really unsettling though. Mine was not of monsters but of humans. TLDR at bottom. My friends and I were high in the woods deep in the Sierra Nevadas in the California backcountry and decided to travel a few miles off a path to reach a river and shoot at targets with our .22. The path is littered with deer bones and claw marks from bears, so we are freaking out a bit but finally make it to where we set up camp. I notice off in the distance about a half mile upstream the river there are 2 men walking towards us in the exact direction we are firing our gun. I yell at the guys for them to stop shooting, and we just watch these men, wide-eyed and in their late 20s and early 30s, walking quickly alongside the river when suddenly they both decide to jump in. I should say at this point that the river is moving very quickly and could easily sweep you under and is definitely not safe for a casual swim. We watch as both the men are swept away towards us downstream. One of my friends, we'll call him Mike, decides to be brave and get close to the edge and extend a piece of wood for them to grab as they are about to pass us. Both the men latch on and Mike is a hero pulling them to shore. When everyone catches their breath we ask the men what they were doing out here as it's super remote and they were at least 3 or 4 miles from the nearest trail, and why they both jumped in the deadly river. They give us short answers like, oh, we were just having fun boys and just free swimming the river, while they're leering at us. Immediately the hairs on the back of my neck stand up and every fiber in my body tells me they mean us harm. We tell them we are going to head back to the trail and they say they're coming with us. Given that we are so far off from civilization and these guys are clearly high on something and a danger to themselves, we reluctantly agree to allow them to follow us. It was the most quiet hike of my life. I felt them trying to feel out if they could take us in a fight. There were 3 of us and 2 of them, and we had a .22, but we're young scarily adults. I don't know how to explain it, but the hike was us constantly positioning against each other with body language without ever directly fighting. They would get close to the gun and try to both be near it, then we would counter by getting between them and the gun as naturally as possible while hiking up a path that was littered in bear claw marks and dung. We finally make it to the car and they decide we weren't suitable targets and moved on. No idea what 2 random guys were doing risking their life in a freezing cold raging river in the Sierra Nevadas, or why they felt the need to size up if they could attack 3 random teens. But I'm glad nothing happened that day. TLDR. Went hiking in the woods with friends as teens. Almost shot some random crazes. Crazes fall into river and we save them. Then crazes proceed to position themselves to fight us. Eventually get away. I was hiking with my cousins in Guatemala when we came across a massive field of burnt forest. We decided to explore it and didn't find anything interesting until we found a burnt car. I still can't figure out how a car could have gotten there since we were hours away from any road. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also ring the bell to be notified of new uploads.